What if the most profound discovery in your life wasn't about gaining more knowledge, achieving success, or solving your problems, but about recognizing a state of being that's always been within you? Presence. In today's exploration, we'll dive into why presence, this often overlooked and misunderstood state, might just be the most important realization you'll ever make. Imagine a life where your mind is not consumed by endless thinking, judgments, or narratives, but where you experience moments of deep clarity, peace, and connection. That shift could transform your entire approach to daily life. Ready to explore this life-changing realization? Stick around, because the answer may surprise you, and you won't want to miss the practical tip that will help you taste presence for yourself. Just listen. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe for more insights into unlocking a deeper, more fulfilling way of living. There is no difference between presence and stillness, yet the terms are employed differently when describing this idea. Awareness is another term to think about. For the sake of brevity, let us examine the conceptual and experienced aspects of presence. In order to comprehend presence, it is helpful to have a basic understanding of the notion, as knowing anything typically encompasses both levels. But there is also an alternative form of knowing, one that transcends abstract ideas. I think the common example that comes from India is this. Do you know what honey is? Sweet honey, I know it. Honey is a topic that many individuals have written doctoral dissertations on. Therefore, you might be very knowledgeable in the field. A great deal of knowledge may be gained via conception. There is much to learn about it. Another way to know is to taste the honey. Perhaps your only experience with honey has been its flavor, and as a result, you have limited conceptual knowledge of the substance. Even so, you may have intimate knowledge of the taste of honey and a close interaction with it on a daily basis without being aware that bees make it. Both kinds of knowledge are necessary for many tasks. But here in our world, we have put too much stock in conceptual knowing, in dissecting things into their component parts, and then trying to make sense of them through a haze of abstraction. It is the mind's job to conceptualize every single thing that happens to us. The risk is in letting ourselves be devoured or dominated by it. Even though it has its place, presentness is key here. Another non-conceptual form of being and knowing is presence. From a conceptual standpoint, I could state that presence is a part of consciousness that any human can experience, even though many people are unaware that it exists. Even if you don't know what it is, you've probably felt moments of presence, a state of complete harmony with yourself, your environment, and other people, and wondered what on earth it means. Once in this state of oneness, most people return to the ego state, where they identify with their conceptual self-picture and a narrative that they refer to as me or my life. Their actual identity is not reflected in this story. An underlying sense of self-identification binds you to something more than your own identity. We don't have to put a label to it, but it links you to the source, which is presence or awareness, something substantial. Various ancient spiritual traditions have all made reference to this state of awareness or aspect of consciousness, but they have used different terminology. Many spiritual traditions and teachings use different words to describe the same idea, yet individuals who have never experienced the sweetness of presence may mistake them for completely distinct systems. If you had never tried honey before, you could read about it in a bunch of books written in different languages and still think they're all the same. In fact, they are all pointing to the same thing, the nature of honey. I say we sample the honey. When you are fully present, you are able to feel the sensations at this very now without filtering them via your mind with ideas opinions, and evaluations. Perceptual clarity is where it all starts. In other words, for a short while, you won't be accompanied by your typical train of thought as it interprets and labels your sensory sensations. There's a brief pause when you don't have to think about anything. You are fully conscious, but your mind isn't working. You haven't fallen asleep at all. If you want a taste of it right now, you have to be completely awake, but for a little while there is no thinking, just being aware of present. Whether it's sight, sound, or touch, you can take it all in. Around or beyond the sensations of the senses, there is a silence. Just by looking at a tree or plant, you may know it by its presence, not by any abstract concept. Conceptually, you might not be familiar with the name of this plant. Looking at this plant, though, creates an atmosphere of what we may term calmness due to the absence of mental activity. With this kind of self-awareness, you may connect with things on the outside without letting yourself be separated from them. The quiet and life force of a plant, for instance, is palpable. Particularly useful are natural things, such as trees. There are several trees that have been around for a long time. A feeling of connection or unity could emerge if you pay them attention, without enveloping them in abstract ideas. Because your being is self-aware, you are able to perceive their presence. To put it simply, it's a brief period during which awareness takes the place of thinking. Until you get used to presence, which can linger for longer periods of time, thoughts will come back whenever you need them, and even when you don't. Eventually, even while you're fully immersed in mental activity, a subtle presence may persist. At this very moment, I am utilizing my intellect to express myself, if that is indeed the right term. It is not I, the individual, making use of the mind. Rather, the more fundamental I, presence, is making use of the mind to deliberate about presence. The more fundamental I stands in contrast to the more surface-level I, which represents you as an individual with a past, both good and terrible, and the same kinds of challenges that everyone handles. Realizing that dimension exists inside oneself is the pinnacle of human achievement. The key to live life to the fullest, most genuine version of yourself is practicing present, which is more than just a passing feeling of calm. You get access to a more profound awareness, a condition of being unencumbered by the chatter of the mind, when you establish a connection to present. You are thus no longer a victim of your ideas or other influences. And to help you begin, here's a simple exercise. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and hold that awareness the next time your thoughts start to race. Your focus can change from thinking to being in just a short amount of time if you do this. Leave a comment with the word "now" to pledge to live more mindfully, like the video if it speaks to you, and share it with someone who could use a slow-down reminder. Please subscribe so that we can keep discussing the life-altering potential of being fully present.